Welcome to City and Guilds Math and English Skills Sessions. Thanks for joining us. I am Tamika Lodge-Fenton, and I will be guiding you through today's math lesson. We'll be focusing on ratio and proportion. Let's begin. So we are on the unit, ratio and proportion, and this unit is geared towards developing skills in reading and using scales, ratio and proportion. For today's session, we'll be using direct proportion. So just a few key points to remember, to review. Ratio compare values. So ratios compare two quantities, and you have proportion will compare ratios. All right, we have let's look at some little information about ratio. It's always important to express a ratio in its simplest form, and we're going to look at a few ratio that will exist in real life situations. To prepare fuel for a lawnmower, that's just a brand there, gasoline must be mixed with oil in the ratio of 50:1. Now, we may not use lawnmower that much here in Jamaica, but we use the weed whacker. And the weed whacker still requires a particular ratio with the gasoline and the oil that is put in it for it to operate. Even a chainsaw, and if that ratio is not adhered to, you could destroy the engine within these small machines. To make 14-karat gold jewelry or 14-karat jewelry, gold is mixed with other metals in the ratio of 14:10. Now, gold in its true natural ore is very malleable, or soft, I should say. So in order for the jewelry to keep a particular shape, it is combined with other metals to be a little bit more sturdy. Now, Rock Valley College, so this is just a random college out there, the ratio of students to faculty is 16:1. And most schools here in Jamaica, you can tell the ratio of teacher to student by comparing the number of teachers that teach at the school and the number of students that are enrolled at the school. And there is a particular ratio that must exist or is ideal within the schools to either say a school is overcrowded or underpopulated. All right, ratio give us a way to compare numerical quantities. All right, so that's just some information on ratio. Now, a proportion is simply a statement that says two ratios are equal. It can be written in two ways, as equal fractions or using a colon. The following proportion that we have here reads 20:25 as 4:5. All right, now types of proportion. Direct proportion, when two quantities are so related that when one increase, it causes the corresponding increase in the other. That is called direct proportion. Now, on the other hand, you have what is called inverse proportion. When two quantities are so related that an increase in one causes a corresponding decrease in the other, it is called an inverse proportion. All right? So let's look at this and proportion. Let's look at it, applying ratios and proportion. So the ratio exists, 2 pears to 3 apples. Now let's look what's happening. So they would have applied some amount of increase there because you had 2 pears, now you have 10. You had 3 apples, now you have 15. What kind of proportion is this? Exactly, it is direct proportion because both quantities within the ratio has increased. Just the pear increased by 5 times larger, and the apples are also 5 times more. Okay, good. So that's just a way in which we apply ratio in our real life situation. All right, let us look at a few more examples of direct proportion in real life scenarios. All right, so the more time I drive is the more miles I cover, or more miles I travel. So the more distance I would. Now, it says constant rate, but really and truly, if you are driving, even if it's not, if you speed up or slow down, you're really going to cover more miles, more distance. So as you drive more, you cover more. Direct proportion. If I increase a recipe for more people, the more ingredients I need. Think about it. So you have a recipe. It is, excuse me, it is geared towards making 5 cookies. But you realize you're going to have 15 people over and each person wants a cookie. You're going to increase the ingredients that the recipe required in order to facilitate making 5 cookies. I mean 15 cookies for everybody that's coming. So if you increase the recipe for more people, you're going to require more ingredients. The more hours I work, the more money I make. Now let's clear this up, because if you work a salary, monthly salary, you could have worked as much hours as you want. You are getting that set money. However, if you are an hourly paid worker, the more hours you put in, the more money you are expected to earn. So one is directly proportionate to the other. All right? The less oranges I buy, the less money it costs. Think about it. An orange costs $10. If I buy 2 oranges, that's $20. If I buy 10 orange, clearly it's 10 times 10, $100. So those two things are directly proportionate. And the last, the less water you drink, the less trips to the bathroom you have to make. You know how that works, guys. So that's just another one. All right, so let's look at our first scenario for the afternoon. A tire company makes 240 tires in 40 minutes. How many tires were made in 10 minutes? So let's look at the ratios that we're seeing here. 240 to 40 minutes. How many tires were made in 10 minutes? There are some information that we're going to put down. So 240 to 40, and we want to know how many tires would have been made in only 10 minutes. So we're going to realize that the time is being decreased. So guess what? The number of tires must also be decreased. Guys, I want you to think about this question. Think about it. Remember, it's 240 to 40, and you want to figure out how many tires is made in 10 minutes. Let's work this out together on the board, guys. So as usual, I like to be able to look at numbers and see what relationship I can establish. So I have an unknown figure here, and I have a known figure here. I really can't do not much with that. However, I have a figure here, and something happened to my 40, and it's now 10. What would have happened? I would have decreased this by dividing by 4 to get 10. Therefore, I look if it's direct proportion. So when this is decreased, this is also being decreased. So I will do the very same thing here. So it's 240 being divided by 4. 4 into 2, not possible. 4 into 24 goes 6 times. 4 into 0, 0 times. So you would have done this if it's long division, 0, 0, 0. There you go. All right, great. So if I were to dividing 240 by 4, I get 60. So what it is saying, when I decrease my time from 40 minutes to 10 minutes, the number of tires made would also decrease from 240 to 60 tires. All right, so let's look at that now. So you would have made 60 tires in the 10 minutes. All right, so it's pretty much, you know, you observe it, you inspect the things, you look for the relationship, and you apply the same change that would have happened to one side of the ratio to the other. All right, so 60 to 10. All right, now what happens? So since they took 10 minutes to make 60 tires, my question for you is, how many tires will they make in 1 hour? All right, so let's see how we can work that out. So I am going to just take off some of this off the board. So we now know that 10 minutes, so we have 60 tires is made in 10 minutes. So the key information that you have to know, how many minutes, that's correct, how many minutes are there in 1 hour? Because it's an hour we want to know now. Yes, man, you know this, man. An hour is made up of 60 minutes. All right, so we still have the time. We don't know how many tires would have been made in 60 minutes. We can establish a relationship. So we have 10, and 10 something has happened to the 10, and it's now 60. What has happened to it? You can either go 10 divided into 60 gives me 6. So that means I would have multiplied 10 by 6 to give 60. It is direct proportion. So if this side is increasing, this side is also increasing. So I will multiply the number of tires by the same, what is this? Factor the same number. Good. So 6 multiplied by 6 is 6. 6 is 36. And 6 0 is 0. So now we have 360 tires will be made in 60 minutes. Now, let's say, for instance, you didn't remember how to do that and you're really kind of blank in the exam. You can still do something else, you know. So if you know something is made in 10 for 60. Now, you can do the long way if you have the time, why not? So, you know, that's 20 minutes, that's 30 minutes, that's 40, that's 50, that's 60. I would rather you not use this method, but it can be done. So you would have written out all of the ratios here. So this would account for your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. And if you were to add this, 6 and 6, 12, and that 18, and you continue, and you would get your same 360 to your 60 minutes. All right, so you can always do what's comfortable to you. It may not be the most efficient way, which we want you to work efficient. But if you get the correct response, that's perfectly fine, within good timing. So here's another way I looked at it. How many minutes make up an hour? We did say that we had 10 minutes. How many minutes? How many, minutes make up an hour? How many groups of 10s? So I could also figure out how many groups of 10s, which I did by dividing into the hour. So 1 hour, 60 minutes. 60 minutes has 6 groups of 10s. We know this. So we can now calculate. And by calculating, 60 tires is made every 10 minutes. So I can say 6 groups of 10 minutes in an hour, so we can pretty much multiply by 6. And you saw this. So one is increasing, the other is also increasing, and this is direct proportion. If it's going up, they're going up together. So the tire company, using a ratio of 240 to 40, would end up with 360 to 60 for an increased time. All right, let's look at another scenario. You have decided to go on a vacation. The hotel you plan to stay charges $360 for 3 nights. How much would be charged if you were to stay for 10 nights at the same rate? All right, so you can do 2 things if you want to think about it. 3 nights, 360. You could try to figure out how many sets of 3 nights you can get from 10. As you can see, 10, you'd get 3 and you get 1 night left over there. So that may not work so easy for you. But what you can try to do is figure out how much it costs for 1 night. Now, how do you do that? You would simplify, and I should have changed those figures. So let's go to the board. So you have 360. All right, let's come here on the board. So we have 360 is for 3 nights. You want to figure out what it is for 1 night. So I can simplify. I want to simplify this to 1. I'm going to divide this by 3, which gives me 1. And I'm going to also divide this by 3. So I'm simplifying my ratio. And 3 into 3, 1. 3 into 6, 2. 3 into 0, 0. So what I'm saying, it's $120 per night. Per night. Yeah, I can know 1 night. All right, per 1 night. All right, or 1 per night. All right. So $120 per night. That's fine. So if I know how much is charged per night, I can simply go to the 10. So I now have 120 multiplied by 10 will give me the cost for 10. All right, if I want to put the 1 multiplied by the same 10 there, just to be consistent, right, it's 10. So I'd have this multiplied by 10, 1,200 would give me the cost for the 10 nights. All right? So your cost for 10 nights would be $1,200. All right, guys, and that is still direct proportion. The number of nights increase, therefore the cost of your stay at the hotel is going to also increase. Here we go again, another scenario. In a recipe, the ratio of weight of flour to the weight of sugar is 2 to 1. If I use 400 grams of flour, how much sugar do I need? So, what's the first ratio? You realize it's direct proportion, so you know if the flour has increased, obviously the sugar is going to increase. Now, the first ratio we have is 2 to 1. The ratio is now changed to 400 grams to, you're trying to figure it out. All right, so let's look. What would have happened to 2? What would have happened to 2 to get it to 400? You would have multiplied. Let's do that on the board so that I'm not just talking and you're not fully understanding. So we are at, the first ratio we got was 2 to 1. So that's our starting ratio, and we know that that ratio means flour to sugar. So if you want to make sure you are staying on track and not lost anywhere, you put your flour sugar over there. Then the flour would have now changed to 400. And you are trying to determine how much sugar you should have to match that. What has happened to 2 to get it here? 2 into 200, 2 into 400 goes 200 times. So I would have multiplied that by 200. And that's we've been doing so far. Whatever is done to one side of the ratio must be done to the other in order to show that there is direct proportion taking place. So we have 1 times 200 gives us 200. So if I were to increase my flour to 400 grams, my sugar would increase to 200 grams in order to keep this same 2 to 1 ratio between flour and sugar. All right? So it's pretty much that for that direct proportion. All right, guys. Our last scenario for the afternoon. $1 US is approximately 89 hundredths of a euro dollar. All right. Now, what is the question asking you? How many euros would you receive from 100 US dollars? All right. So now I have a ratio 1 to 89 cents. And if I have 100, so I would have increased my US dollar by 100 to get $100. So obviously I'm going to increase my euro dollar by the same 100, giving me 100 US to 89 euros. Feel free to go back over the question if I went a little bit too fast for you. That's our math lesson for today. I hope you learned a lot. And as usual, it was a pleasure guiding you through.